So you've just installed Fusion 360 and you are ready to create a 3D model of something. I'm going to show you how to use the software to create a 3D model, and then later on we'll stress it and machine it. So the first thing I'm going to show you is I've created a sketch on a piece of paper of what I want to model in Fusion 360. I've imported it into my laptop and I'm going to model it. So just for the sake of simplicity, I'm going to import this rough sketch that I've drawn onto Fusion as a backdrop, and then we use this to help us create the 3D model. I'm using a standard 3-button mouse with a wheel in the middle. Most of the time we use the left mouse button in Fusion. I'll explain when I'm using the other buttons as we progress. So the first thing you need to do is import the image into Fusion. Fusion call it a canvas, and if we go to insert with the left mouse button, I've just chosen the insert text down here. This gives me a number of options, and the one I want to use is canvas. Click that with the left mouse button. I'm asked to import it, so I'm going to import this from my computer. It's already on the hard disk somewhere, so we'll just use insert from my computer. Navigate to the folder where your image is and select it. Click on open, and that brings the image in. Now, first of all, it wants to put it onto a face. In this instance, we've got nothing modelled on in the software, so the only options we've got really are the 3 Cartesian coordinate planes that we get in Fusion. You've got your X, Y, Y, Z and ZX planes. The red, green and blue lines here represent the axes. If you just remember RGB, red is green, red is the x-axis, G, green, is the y-axis, and B, blue, is the z-axis, so X, Y, Z. We want to put this on the XY plane. I always like to model so that the vertical of the height of my component is in the z-axis, which makes it easier for me to machine it later on. You don't have to, but this is how I like to do it. So we're going to select the XY plane, which is the one that I'm hovering over on with my mouse. Click that with the left mouse button, and then once that's selected, we'll just click on OK. I'm not going to worry too much about scale and so on, because I can sort that out later. Although, yeah, let's put a scale in of 100 and see what happens. Make sure the X and the Y are scaled, and then just click on OK. I want to look down on this image, so if you go over to the top right of Fusion, and by the way, just to move this around, I'm using the wheel to zoom in and out, rolling one way to zoom out, rolling the other way to zoom in. If you hold the wheel down and move your mouse, you can pan, as you can see on the screen. I want to look down on this, so if I go to the cube at the top right of Fusion and click on the face that says top, again with the left mouse button, that will orientate the image so that we're looking straight down onto it. Next thing I want to do is scale this correctly. In other words, from the centers here, I've got a dimension of 200 millimeters. I'd like that to actually be 200 millimeters in reality. So if we go to the tree on the left hand side, I tend to use this just for viewing and editing certain things. If we go to open up canvases, you'll see that we've got the sketch imported as a canvas. The little eye symbol means we can turn it on and off with that eye symbol. If you right click on the sketch or the image, we can actually calibrate this. So if I go to calibrate and select 2 points on the image, the 2 center points roughly on the circle, this is coming up as 678. I want this as 200 millimeters. Type it in, press return, and that will automatically scale the canvas accordingly. The other thing I like to do is set the center of the left hand circle up as my origin. So again, I can right click on this. If I edit the canvas, you see I've got some manipulators at the center of the screen here. I'm going to move this so that the center is at the bottom left of the screen, and all I've got to do is click on this little square icon in the middle of the manipulator, and I can move the canvas around. Now I want to move it so that the origin is at the left hand side of this circle here, but I can't see the origin. So if we go to the origin folder on the left hand side and click on, see O here, this is the origin point. I'm going to override this so I can actually see it. And now when I move the canvas around, I'll find the origin first of all. There it is. And then if I can pan or move my canvas around, I can then move it so that the origin is at the center of the circle, only roughly. Okay, click on OK, and just to double check on the calibration, there we go. And then I can turn the origin off and the canvas off should I wish. I need to keep the canvas at the moment because I'm going to start doing some modelling. So there's the canvas on the screen. I'm just going to make a bit more space on my Fusion, so I'm going to close down the browser on the left hand side for my projects. You can either click on the X at the top right here or click on the hide data panel button. See the button with 9 dots on it? Just click on that. That hides the browser on the left hand side. Okay, so we're now going to start some modelling. Now the first thing we do with a model is we create a sketch. So most of the time you actually start off with a sketch. The other thing you need to be aware of is we don't tend to sketch everything in one go. If you were to work in something like AutoCAD and you were drawing something, you'd draw the whole of the view in one go, wouldn't you? But in Fusion, eat elephants in small bites basically, just do it in small nibbles. The first thing I'm going to do is just add 2 circles for the outline of this component. So just put the origin back on again. And the first thing I'm going to do is create a sketch. So on the menu bar at the top of the screen, you'll see that we've got the first icon is create a sketch. So click on that. Just select the XY plane and we're ready to sketch. So there's all the sketch tools on the menu bar at the top. Autodesk tend to give you the most common functions on the left hand side and not so common on the right hand side, so you tend to work on the left of a menu quite often. I'm going to create some circles, so let's go to the circle command, left click on it. I'm going to select on the origin button. If you hover over the origin on the screen, you'll see a little blue square appears. Just left click on that. That's now snapping to the origin on my sketch, and as I move my mouse you can see it's rubber banding a circle, and there's a blue highlighted text in a box which is indicating the diameter. Now I want a diameter of 100 millimeters as per my sketch, so if I type in 100, press return, that then creates a circle of 100 diameter. There we go. Next one is 130 diameter. It's 200 millimeters away. Now what I like to do is use something called a construction line in Fusion. This is only used in the sketch. It's not actually used by the modeler at all. The modeler doesn't see construction lines, but in this instance it would be quite useful to actually draw a line 200 millimeters long from the origin horizontally across to the right and use the end of that line to snap to create this circle of 130 diameter. So if we go up to the menu far left, you'll see the line command. Select the origin. Again, as you go to the origin, you'll see a blue square appear around it. Click on that, and then rubber banding again, you can see my line. Now as I move to the horizontal, you will see a blue icon appear halfway along, just underneath the line. You'll see it just to the right of the 130 circle at the moment. That's showing that this line is actually going to be constrained horizontal when I do draw it. It means that the line will not stray from the horizontal, which is what we want in this instance. Whilst it's horizontal, the blue text is highlighted to enable me to type in a value. As I type it, that text is replaced by whatever I type in. I want 200 millimeters, press return. I've now got a line that's 200 millimeters long. If I hover over the line to select it, it goes blue. If I right click on it, I can then change it to construction. So on the right click, I've got the options. In Fusion, if in doubt, right click, because the options are there somewhere for you. And in this case, I want to change it to construction. I can also select it from this sketch palette on the right hand side here before I draw the line. In this instance, I've already drawn it. It's normal, so if I right click on it and choose Sketch Construction, that makes it a construction line, and you can see it goes dotted. This is purely used by the sketcher, it's not used by the modeler. It's very useful to help you to constrain a sketch and make it more meaningful to somebody else who may be looking at it later on. Just move these dimensions around. Okay, so let's put our next circle on. It's on the end of this line. Again, as I hover over the end of the line, a blue square appears to show it's actually snapping to the end of the line. Click on it, move your mouse, type in your value, press return, and there's our next circle drawn. Okay, next thing is we want to create the body that 50 diameter, the 50 wide piece of material that runs between these two circles, all these two pillars. One of the easiest ways of doing this is, now that we've got this horizontal line here, we can actually offset this by half of 50. So if we go over to the up to the menu bar, you'll see a modify area. I'm going to use the offset command. Left click on it, select the center of the line that runs through the center, the 200 millimeter line that we drew earlier. Let's use the offset command again. I think I missed it. There we go. And you'll see a little slider here. As you move it up or down, okay, you can see the value of the offset changes. One way it will be positive, the other way it will be negative. So I'm going to move it down and then put a value in of, you can put 25 in obviously, which is half of the 50, but I like to actually put in the true value that I required, which was 50, and then just divide by 2. It means that if somebody comes along to this, comes to see this later and has a look at the sketch, they'll see that how I've calculated this. You know, I've worked from the 50 wide dimension and just halved it as per the requirement on this sketch. This is simple. Obviously I could quite easily put 25, but more complicated dimensions, this is actually quite useful. Press return. That adds the offset line. Do the same again. Move the slider up. Now this time it's a negative value, right? Minus 50 divided by 2. Press return. And there's our 2 offset lines. Now as we're creating this sketch, you'll notice that the area inside the sketch geometry is going light blue. This is showing you that the sketcher is understanding that it's actually got a closed area that is good for creating a 3D model. So I've got enough here to start with, and the next thing we're going to do is finish the sketch. I've got enough information here to actually start working on this and extruding it. You can see the values at the top here. I've got a 50mm dimension for the two pillars. The material in the middle is extruded by 30mm. So let's work on this. I finished with a sketch, so just click on Finish Sketch. You can see it in a number of areas. Finish Sketch at the bottom of the sketch palette, at the right of the menu, or even on the right click you've got Finish Sketch as well. Okay. I want to put this back into an isometric view. Quick way is to go up to the cube at the top right of the screen, and as you hover over it you see a little house symbol appear. Just click on that house symbol and that puts it into an isometric view. Now that we're out of the sketch, we're back to the tools that we saw at the beginning, where we had the option of creating a sketch, but you'll also notice in Create you've got things like Extrude, Revolve, Hole, Pattern, and then Modify, which is things like Fillet, Chamfer, Shell, which hollows out the solid model. What we want to do is extrude these upwards, so we use the Extrude command, and I'm going to select the circles. As you select the circles, they go dark blue to show you that they've been selected. You get a dialog box on the right hand side. We are going to extrude this upwards. All we got to do is grab this blue arrow, pull it upwards, and as you pull it upwards, whoops, that's better. As we pull this up or down, you can see the value of the extrusion is changing. I want this to be extruded to, now we've got to be careful here, because the dimension I've got is 50 plus 0 minus 1. Now if we were machining this, we need to make sure that we are at least giving the machinist a chance. So we really want to give him a mid-tolerance. So the best thing we can do with this model is to actually put this at a dimension of 49.5mm, mid-tolerance. Fusion hasn't got the ability to work with tolerances until you get to drawings, 2D drawings, but for a CNC machinist we want to make sure that the actual model itself is at mid-tolerance, so that when we do machine this, then what we are machining is at mid-tolerance on the CNC machine. So I could put 50 in, but that's at one end of the tolerance, and that gives us a problem when we come to machine, because it could be out of tolerance when it comes to be inspected. So in this case I'm going to put it in at 49.5. Okay, we got the two pillars created. The sketch has disappeared, which is a bit of a shame because I wanted to use it to extrude it up by 30mm. So to get that back, all you've got to do is go to the browser on the left hand side, find the sketches, look at find the one that we created initially. It's the only sketch here, and click on the little eye symbol. That turns it back on. So I can now go to extrude, select the area inside, in between the two pillars, just drag this up to extrude it, and I want this to be 30. It is by default extruding in 10mm. As I move the mouse, it moves in 10mm increments. You can change this later. I'll show you this in another video. But as you can see, it's extruding it up by 30, which is exactly what we want from the paper sketch that I created. Click on OK on the dialog box. You notice that because this is the second operation that we're doing, the second extrude, the operation that's coming up in the dialog box for extrude, it shows as join. In other words, it's joining this extrusion onto the two cylinders that we extruded earlier. Okay. Now you'll notice there's all sorts of things on this drawing that I haven't done yet. So there's a 9mm fillet radius, there's a chamfer at the top of the 2 pillars. We can all add these later. Don't worry about these, you know, anything with like chamfers and fillets. We do this afterwards, you know. Get the solid model created first and then worry about these later. Don't put them into the sketch. You don't need to. I know you can fill it in the sketch, but most of the time this sort of thing can be added afterwards. So the next thing we want to do is add some holes. I've got 2 counterboard holes in here intended for an M30 cap head fastener. So let's add some holes. So we'll find the hole command in the menu. So in the create section you'll see hole. Click on that. Let's just select the top face of the first pillar where we want to create the hole. You can actually move it around and center it. It will actually lock onto the center of the face, which is exactly what we want to do. As you can see, as I'm moving it around, there's a little dot appears at the center of the face that's highlighted in blue, and just let go as it magnetically locks on to that center point. We just need to make sure that we're drilling this correctly. The extents are going to be all the way through. We'll change this to all. It's going to be a counterboard hole. The hole is going to be a simple hole. It's not going to be tapped or anything. And it's going to, we don't need to worry about the drill point because this is drilling all the way through. So the sizes are as follows. We want this to be quite a tight fit. So this is going to be 31 diameter. The diameter of the counterbore is going to be 50, and the depth of the counterbore is going to be 35. That's it. Click on OK. That's the first hole done. And next one, go to the hole command, click on the top face, move the center of the hole to the center point. It remembers the values that we put in before. Just click on OK. That's the next hole created. Then let's have a look at this. We've got 9 typical fillets in 4 places. So let's go and add some fillets. Go to the modify area of the menu, find the fillet, select the edges. Now we select the vertical edges that we're going to fillet. You can pick through the model. And again, you get a little tiny arrow that you can pull and push to actually dynamically change the fillet size. And this was 9, so let's put 9 in the box, press return, and that's the 4 edges filleted. And then last but not least, we've got a 5mm chamfer at the top. So let's go to modify. Now I can't see chamfer here. If you click on the text where it says modify here, there's a little tiny arrow to the right, which means this is actually a drop down list. If you click on that, it gives you the other options for modification. There's our chamfer, third one down. Select the 2 edges at the top of the pillars, type in our chamfer size, which is 5mm, and click on OK. And there we are. There's our component ready for stressing. We'll do a stress test on this next, and we'll machine it afterwards. Nothing else to see on here. That's all finished. We need to save it, of course. So if I just click on the data panel button at the top left of Fusion, that brings back my project browser. Up the top here, the file pull down menu, go to save, give it a name, click on save. We'll worry about working with projects and folders in a future video. I just wanted to show you how quickly you can model something in Fusion after installing the software. We'll worry about materials and colours and so on later. But for now, that's the end of this video, and I look forward to showing you others in the future on this YouTube channel. Thank you very much.